Saffron Petrus is what it
Saffron
says.
Petre or Petre Saffron, something like that. Oh, yeah.
So it's probably
It's
Sifrei.
an anonymous Jewish source from the 9th century. Karen Armstrong, in her book, A History of Jerusalem, mentions this source and quotes it. Okay, and I will, because I've written an article on this, how the Jews lived with the Muslims and how they flourished in all these fields, and we had a long discussion on that.
So we don't have to go over old ground.
Today we want to talk about extremism, right? Why are we talking about extremism? Because a lot of people have been throwing things all over the place, right? And I've seen you on Twitter, you're very active, and you were kind of agreeing with these people, Tommy Robinson supporters. Some of them are Tommy
Robinson supporters have I been supporting?
There is one individual, I don't want to honor him by naming him, but you know the one I'm talking about. You are very active with him on Twitter.
So I will just put my... I've been bottled by the EDL for standing with Muslims.
Okay.
I put up videos criticising Tommy Robinson on my channel, Israel Advocacy Movement.
Okay.
So I think to associate me with Tommy Robinson is disingenuous because I've got no association with Tommy Robinson.
Great. You have no association.
Yeah.
I accept that. But you have been seen agreeing with open Tommy Robinson supporters on Twitter.
I'm not aware that I am.
Okay.
So that's fine.
I'll
if I've agreed with a tweet that somebody's once put out, and that person then agrees with Tommy Robinson, that doesn't mean that by that definition there will be people that you will have agreed with who have aligned themselves with people that do horrendous things. There was someone in this park who used to be a cameraman for people without going.
You will never see me tweeting Anjum Chaudhry or agreeing with him on Twitter.
No, not Anjum Chaudhry. With people that have associated with Anjum Chaudhry. Adnan, you're not saying that I am tweeting Tommy Robinson. You're saying that I am tweeting in favour of somebody who you're saying supports Tommy Robinson.
Yes.
Now there are thousands of people in the UK that support Tommy Robinson.
Yes.
Me knowing who doesn't
think
support.
That's a good thing?
No, I think it's a bad thing. I don't think extremism in any of its forms.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example of Tommy Robinson. I think there are things that Tommy Robinson has done that actually were commendable. And there are things that he's done that are beyond the pale. So I'll just give some context to that. Can I finish my point? Yeah. So when anybody, be they Muslim, non-Muslim, right, left, it doesn't matter, when they call out extremism from any community, so when Tommy Robinson was going at Al Jaroon and when he was putting a spotlight on some of the grooming gangs in Rotherham, I think that was commendable. But then when he starts using language like calling Muslims Musrats, and campaigning for no more mosques, for me that then goes beyond the pale. And so I think with any of these mainstream movements, one of the biggest things that the liberal media in this country has got terribly wrong is they haven't been able to differentiate between ordinary Muslims and extremists, and they bundle everybody together.
Using your logic,
yeah.
Has Anjum Chaudhry ever done anything commendable in his life, to your knowledge? Like you just mentioned Tommy Robinson, I see them as equals. I see them as the same two different sides of the same coin, right? Tommy Robinson and Anjum Chaudhry, right? So just like you have seen commendable things in Tommy Robinson, right?
I'm sure Anjum Chaudhry has done things that are.
Are you aware of them?
No, I'm not. But that's fine.
Why not? You are.
Adnan, can I finish my point? Can I finish? Well, I'll just try and make my point.
Yeah.
So what happened? Adnan, yeah, let me speak.
Sure.
What I'm trying to say with Tommy Robinson is Tommy Robinson is the figurehead for what I would consider quite an extreme movement, a violent movement, a movement that there shouldn't be things like
Islamophobic.
Completely anti-Muslim bigotry, 100%.
Yes.
And what I'm trying to say is that was able to emerge because the moderates, the liberals, were unable to differentiate. And so they allowed, the only people who were saying anything were the right, were the far right. And that enabled a mass movement to emerge because the moderates were so incapable of dealing with extremism because they have this warped view where they see all Muslims as the same. And they're not. There's huge differentiation.
If you were seen associating with a Nazi or someone who agrees with Nazis, for example, it's an example, you being a Jewish gentleman, wait.
So, can you just name who it is, please? Because this is really...
Steve from the park.
It's Steve here because he was here 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Can I ask him, is he a Tommy Robinson supporter?
Yes, he has said it on video.
Yeah, okay.
He has said it on video.
So to use a Muslim expression, I threw myself at that because I am not aligned with Tommy Robinson.
I'm sure you're not. I'm sure you're not, and I believe that. you being a Jewish gentleman who has, I'm pretty sure you have you are aware of the history of the Jewish people when it comes to anti-Semitism and the sufferings they have had in the West in particular, right? All the pogroms and the Holocaust and all that, you being aware of that, you, out of all people, must be the most careful person when it comes to hate and extremism against a vulnerable minority like the Muslims are in this country. You should be standing next to us, Muslims. You should be protesting against Islamophobes and people like Tommy Robinson.
I've been bottled by the EDL standing in solidarity with Muslims, not once but twice.
But we don't see that on Twitter.
If you actually followed me, you would see it. So there's one video on my YouTube.
Can we go on your Twitter account now?
Yeah. On my YouTube account. If you go on my YouTube account, no, because the video which I'm talking about is too long for Twitter. Twitter, you get like 2 minutes and 20 seconds. So 2 instances where I've been bottled by the EDL. How many people in this crowd here? There's quite a large crowd. How many of you have been bottled by the EDL?
We need to go through.
Yeah, no. So we've got there's three of us. There's three of us.
He was punched.
I saw that video. I saw that. That was brutal. That was brutal.
So there are examples. I've been threatened.
Adnan, what I'm trying to say. So the EDL went to Downing Street.
Yeah.
I stood in solidarity with the Muslims and took a stand against the EDL because I'm against all forms of bigotry. The second time,
all forms of bigotry.
Yeah. The second time, yeah.
I will use these words against you.
Yeah. The second time was actually they didn't attack me because I was standing in solidarity with Muslims. They attacked me because they thought I was a Muslim, which was just as horrendous because I was wearing a big knitted kippah. And then the weirdest thing happened. One of them screamed, "Actually, this guy's not a Muslim, he's a Jew." And they all stopped attacking me. It was the weirdest thing to see extremists stop attacking someone because he's Jewish. So for me, I have nothing to do with the EDL. I've opposed them throughout my political career. Like, not that it's a career, but throughout my political life.
Are you a Zionist?
100%.
Okay. There was a direct link between a Zionist think tank and Tommy Robinson. Are you aware of that? And British newspapers reported it. That apparently, as they claim, that some of the funding of people like Tommy Robinson is coming from
Adnan, what is a Zionist?
You tell us.
No, I'm asking you because you named the Zionist think tank, so I'm asking what is a Zionist? No, Adnan, you introduced the phrase, so explain to the camera what a Zionist is.
To me, a Zionist...
Not to you, what is the definition of a Zionist?
I understand. I can only tell you what I understand from Zionism. Zionism is a political ideology which doesn't have the support of Orthodox Jewish community in Britain and across the world. There are many Orthodox Jewish people who are against Zionism. Zionism is a political ideology that came to prominence in the 19th century with the advent of Theodor Herzl, who proposed this idea of a homeland for the Jewish people in Palestine. Particularly Palestine, because the British Empire offered Uganda as an option, but they insisted on Palestine, Zion, what they call the Zion. So the return of the Jewish people, by hook or by crook, to Palestine is, in a nutshell, Zionism.
Okay, so
is that accurate?
No.
Okay.
A Zionist is simply somebody that supports the state of Israel as a national home for the Jewish people, not at the expense of anybody else. So if you support a two-state solution, you support Palestine in the West Bank and Gaza, and Israel in the land in between that. Can I just 2 minutes, Aki, 2 minutes.
He has the right to finish what he has to say.
Anybody that supports a two-state solution, so Palestine alongside an Israel, is by definition a Zionist. And so what you may be right. Potentially there is somebody or an organisation that self-identifies as Zionist and also supports Tommy Robinson. But any government in the world that supports the existence of the state of Israel, any Muslim in this park that supports the state of Israel's existing, not at the expense of Palestinians, Arabs or anybody else, they are by definition a Zionist. So maybe you're right. Maybe there are Zionists, maybe Christian Zionists, maybe Jewish Zionists, but who knows? Maybe right-wing Zionists, maybe left-wing Zionists that endorse Tommy Robinson. But it means nothing.
But why?
The definition of Zionism is literally captures most of the moderates in the world today, because most moderates, be they supporters of the Palestinian cause or not, support the state of Israel.
So you don't, as a Zionist, you don't support right-wing hatred against Muslims in Britain?
No, and I will stand publicly on camera. Publicly on camera. If there is ever a far-right march against the Muslim community in the UK, reach out to me on Twitter. I will happily stand in solidarity.
Do you think Islamophobia is real, like anti-Semitism is real? Do you believe Islamophobia is real? It does exist, and people are dying because of Islamophobia.
I think there's distinctions between anti-Semitism and Islamophobia.
Of course there are distinctions.
But I 100% believe there are. So to go back to Tommy Robinson as an example, when he uses language like Musrat, that's not talking liberal values and wanting it. That's literally using what I would consider vile language.
Why do you think Tommy Robinson can get away with that language
while
people using the same language against the Jewish people wouldn't get away with
Adnan,
it?
why
do you think that's the case? And I'm not,
what are you smoking?
I am not.
Tommy Robinson is blacklisted on all social. I know.
He's still walking.
Is
he free at the moment?
So again, Tommy Robinson has been incarcerated several times.
Not because of Islamophobia. Because of breaking the court rules and all that, for contempt of court. Not because of Islamophobia.
Tommy Robinson is shunned by most people in the UK. This is a very liberal country, a very anti-racist country.
Of course, Britain is a beautiful country with amazing liberal, tolerant people living in it. British people are some of the most generous and loving people in the world. If they were not that, then we Muslims would have been dead, because for the last 20 years, the amount of poison that has been pumped through the British media into the minds of the British people, we the Muslims would have been dead by now.
Adnan.
If the British people were not a great people, were not a tolerant people, were not a generous people, we believe they are. That's why they are rejecting people like Tommy Robinson. Let me finish very quickly. So, why is the government not taking action against people like Tommy Robinson and other Islamophobes who are open? If anyone tweeted against the Jewish people, would be incarcerated immediately, rightly so. But why are the Muslims treated differently? Why do you think that's the case?
Okay, Adnan, I don't know if you've been paying attention. I'll finish. And let's calm down as well, because we're getting quite heated. And I actually think we're on the same side here, so it's very bizarre. If you've been paying attention to the news recently, there has been so many cases of anti-Semitism in the Labour Party. There's been a 15,000-page dossier handed into the Equality and Human Rights Commission on anti-Semitism. Not one of those anti-Semites has been incarcerated. So the idea that if you say something anti-Semitic or anti-Muslim, that you will be incarcerated, that's not manifest in the law.
Let me correct you there. Recently we had the election, right?
Yeah.
Jeremy Corbyn was being accused of anti-Semitism without substance. There is
let's go there.
There is not a statement Jeremy Corbyn has made throughout his 40 years of political career where he said anything anti-Jewish.
Okay, if I can find you examples,
there are statements made by Boris Johnson, anti-Muslim statements, openly anti-Muslim statements, in different places at different times and different on different platforms. And yet we have the British Prime Minister now. Boris Johnson is the British Prime Minister. So we saw the injustice there.
Adnan,
on the one hand, you can see someone moral, noble.
Jeremy Corbyn?
Yes.
Okay, let's go there. Let's reset the debate, and this is the conversation.
Okay, let's
give
me one statement made by him, which is
absolutely. Can I
Is Zionism anti-Semitic?
Ali, we can get on to Zionism, but let's Ali, we can sit down on the Salam corner next, and we can do that next. But let's deal with Jeremy Corbyn.
That's a very important distinction, by the way.
But let's instead of hopping around like frogs, let's stay on one subject: Jeremy Corbyn. So I'm going to ask you a few questions, and you tell me if this is anti-Semitic language or these are anti-Semitic things. Yep. So we started the conversation by talking about associations. So let's begin with an association. Is it? And you tell me whether it's anti-Semitic or not. No. You're not sitting down on the chair.
Let him finish his point, please. Then he has the right to finish his point.
You can come on. So Adnan, then Ali, then me, and you can sit down. And then I'll get home to my wife. So you tell me whether this is anti-Semitic or not. Jews are a peculiar and strange race, and they are behind the movement of all capital and responsible. There's no war that's sanctioned in Europe without them sanctioning it. Is that an anti-Semitic statement?
Did Corbyn make this statement?
No. Just is it
It is an anti-Semitic statement. It is an anti-Semitic statement.
It was written in a book. It was written in a book called Imperialism by J.A. Hobson.
Okay.
Corbyn not only endorsed it, he described it as a great tome. He wrote the foreword to it. He wrote the foreword to this book. So you're talking about associations. This conversation started with I'm friendly with Steve, who you say is supporting Tommy Robinson, and you question my judgment there. So I would reverse,
yes.
I would reverse this background. Here is, you've got a book of Mein Kampf. The chapter that this appears in is called "Economic Parasites of Imperialism." There's 2 minutes. There's another chapter in the book called "Imperialism and the Lower Races." Yeah, Jeremy Corbyn. Rajiv, can you just let us talk? Like.
But you can't.
Let him finish, please. Let him finish.
It's not your debate.
This is a discussion. This is a
I just
discussion.
wanted to say you can't say
Listen,
that. You can't say that
brother,
someone can't be racist because of association.
So I'm going to bring a number of examples. I'm going to bring a lot of examples.
I agree with you 100%. If that is the case, Jeremy Corbyn made a huge mistake. I don't believe he's an anti-Semite because wait, let me finish. Because I have never heard from him stating anything anti-Semitic. On the other hand, Boris Johnson. Wait. Boris Johnson has personally, not that he wrote a foreword for a book or anything like that. He has directly made Islamophobic statements, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, he has made anti-Semitic statements.
So-
Boris Johnson, in one of his books, I think it was 72 Virgins, right? He insinuated, and there was an article recently in Guardian or one of the newspapers, that Boris Johnson actually insinuated that Jewish bankers control the world. Is that anti-Semitic?
So
is that
to
anti-Semitic?
say that Jewish bankers control the world, absolutely. I'd have to see the book, but that's absolutely anti-Semitic. So another I'll give you another example of Germany.
By the way, I mean, I'm questioning that particular.
Because
why
Jewish
is that
bankers,
anti-Semitic?
do Jewish bankers control the world?
Okay, if they do.
No, not if they do. Do they? I'm asking you a question.
Okay, if that's a lie,
Not if it is.
We want to be open about the discussion.
So,
do you think Netanyahu is a good man?
So if I was in Israel, I wouldn't vote for Netanyahu. He's not who I would vote for.
But do you think he's a good man? He was voted in by the Israelis, right?
Yeah, he was voted in by the Israelis.
Okay, so majority of the Israelis actually like him.
No. We're in the third election now. He hasn't been able to secure a majority. It's highly likely he's not going to be the Prime Minister. It's highly likely he's going to be replaced.
Doesn't matter.
But
is he the Prime Minister now?
Currently, yes, he is the sitting Prime Minister.
And is he standing next to Islam, some of the greatest Islamophobic powers? If you were,
Adnan, just let me respond. You keep asking me the question.
Let me finish my question.
I thought you finished it.
If I saw someone standing next to Hitler,
That's not a comparison between Modi and Hitler.
Wait. If the Mufti of Jerusalem was standing next to Hitler, I condemn him. I condemn him. If he had any part in inspiring Hitler to kill the Jewish people, I condemn him.
He did.
He was guilty of a crime against humanity. Yeah. I'm telling you categorically, if the Mufti of Jerusalem was involved in the killing of innocent people, okay, I condemn him wholeheartedly. Can you do the same? Can you condemn Netanyahu for doing something far greater than the Mufti of Jerusalem did?
Sorry, what you're saying that Modi? So by definition, what you're saying is Modi is worse than Hitler?
Yes.
This is bloody nuts.
Yes, I'm saying that.
Okay, so Theresa May stood next to Modi, yeah?
Wrong.
She also stood next to the king. She went to King Abdul's funeral, and this guy's killed millions. He's killed millions in Yemen.
Wrong.
So this is the absurdity. So Adnan, you're a historian, yeah?
You tell me how it makes sense.
Adnan,
you ban someone for mass murder, and then you let them in, and you shower flowers on them. How does that make sense?
You're a historian. You're a historian.
Yeah.
What is Hitler responsible for?
A genocide.
And how was it? Describe how that genocide took place.
Gas chambers and mass murder against innocent people.
Yeah.
He was a mass murderer.
Yeah.
So he's one of the devils.
What scale?
6 million people.
No, it's more. That was just the Jews. Yeah, it's just 6 million Jews.
Yes.
12 million people.
Okay.
Now
million.
Modi, yeah.
To me, even one is too much. To me, even one innocent person dying is too much. So
number scale matters.
Okay.
Yes, a person who murders one person does not inflict as much pain and suffering on the world as someone who murders millions. Scale is important. That's the difference between a murderer and a genocide.
Let me qualify my statement. Wait. Let me qualify my statement. Modi, brother, he's having a conversation. 1 second. Can you calm down? Modi is right now as we speak. Sorry. Yeah. As we speak, is responsible for putting 8 million people in a concentration camp. Are you know?
So
are you aware of that?
No, I'm not aware of that.
Okay. Do you know Kashmir?
I know Kashmir. I know
Kashmir is under lockdown.
I don't know about the concentration. So can you just
no,
explain?
no,
Just because
wait.
I'm ignorant. I'm genuinely ignorant. I know about the Kashmiri conflict, but I'm not aware of concentration camps.
Let me educate you about Kashmir. Kashmir, there are 8 million Muslims there.
But that's not a concentration camp.
Wait.
Are you saying the population is 8 million?
Define a concentration camp.
A concentration camp is a camp which is set, and there's a difference between an extermination camp, a death camp, and a concentration camp.
I agree.
And so a concentration camp is a physical...
And the distance between an extermination camp and concentration camp is not very far. It's not very distant. Would you agree?
No, I mean, they are very distant.
Every extermination camp begins with a concentration camp. Would you agree?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
I mean, you can literally set up
You
a camp.
have to bring people into some concentration to exterminate them, right or wrong?
So in the concentration camps, people will usually use the slave labour, and they were put through terrible conditions. In this extermination camp, they were literally sent to death.
Describe terrible conditions.
Terrible condition, malnutrition.
Okay, first,
but can we, like,
do you condemn what's happening in Kashmir with the Muslims?
So I think that this is general. I don't know enough about the conflict, but from what I've read,
from what I'm saying is true.
Yeah, obviously.
The Kashmiris are now under a lockdown. No internet, no freedom.
I don't know.
They can't move. They can't move.
If they have no freedom,
there's a curfew in Kashmir. People are not free to move around. Okay, if that is the case, and to date, hundreds of thousands of Kashmiris have been killed by Indian forces. Right, thousands of Kashmiri women have been raped. Okay. Do you condemn that?
So, truthfully, I genuinely do not. I like to speak about things I know about. I know about Israel.
If what I'm saying is true,
so
I'm believing everything you're saying.
Yeah. So if what you're saying is true, and the contact is in that it's not reciprocal, it's not happening both ways.
How can it be reciprocal?
No. If it's not a war between two people. And it's literally one person. Like the Jews weren't at war with Nazi Germany. Can I just finish my point? The Jews weren't at war with Nazi Germany. They were civilians that lived in Nazi Germany and they were sent to their death. So in that context, like, is absolutely wrong. The Israel-Palestine conflict is far more complex, and there are atrocities that are carried out and have been carried out by both sides. There are wrongs that have been done by both sides. What's happening in Israel and Palestine is not comparable to what happened in Nazi Germany. So I'm saying I don't know the context of Kashmir. But if, as you've painted it, is true, then yes, I'd obviously say that's wrong. If it is more nuanced than that, I'd have to read about it. But instead of speaking about things which I don't know about, it'd be much better to get someone who actually knows about the Kashmiri conflict to talk about it. I know about Labour anti-Semitism, I know about Israel-Palestine, I know about, which is where we started the conversation. So to bring it back to what we say, I'm going to ask you another question, bringing it back to Jeremy Corbyn. Is it wrong to say that blacks have been in this country for a long time and they still don't get British humour?
It is wrong to say that, yes.
So Jeremy Corbyn said, Zionists have been in this country for a long time and they still don't get British irony. That sentence only makes sense if you're talking about Jews. Because Zionists, as you can be a Christian Zionist, as we discussed,
that's
you
not
can be,
anti-Semitic.
That's not anti-Semitic.
No, that's not anti-Semitic. Zionism is not Judaism.
Okay, so let's stop.
Adnan,
let's do a logical exercise. Let's do a logical exercise. If
it's
you're
like
Adnan, let me.
Make it known that Joseph Cohen turns up to Jeremy Corbyn demos with Tommy Robinson fans.
Here's the biggest fascist. You incredible. This was an anti-fascist. When actual fascists slaughtered Jews in Germany, you made no post because you were busy just attacking the far right here. You are an enemy of the Jewish people, and I have nothing to do with you, Mark.
Fascists who talk about the Jewish question all the time that I debate with.
Are you saying he turned up to a protest with Tommy Robinson supporters?
So this is
he did.
So
is he right about
so
that?
No. So I work. So it's here.
It's
Here we
video?
go. Adnan, let me respond.
Earlier he condemned Tommy Robinson and his supporters.
And I've got videos condemning Tommy Robinson.
No, you have. But why are you turning up to
The protest outside. I'm not going to say where it is, but it was round the corner from where I work. I was passing by, as I told you there and then I went back to work.
No, I'm talking about the Jeremy Corbyn thing.
Are you a witness to this?
Oh, the night before the election. I don't know. So perfect. Here's a great example. This is a Jewish protest, yeah? There were 8 or 10 concerned British Jews protesting against anti-Semitism. One EDL guy turns up. Yeah, one EDL guy turns up on a megaphone. Yeah, have a look at the footage. You show me any guy other than him. And one guy starts screaming Tommy Robinson. We asked him to leave. We've got no control over who protests Jeremy Corbyn. So you're saying literally all those Jews...
He's now on camera saying he's not with them. So
No,
we'll take his word.
Are you saying that those Jews in that video are Tommy Robinson?
I'm not saying those Jews are. I'm saying that you were there with it.
I was there. There were dozens of SWP there.
We
No.
must continue with our discussion.
Sorry.
Do apologize. Thank you for your input, but we will continue
Jew
with our
hater.
discussion. Okay.
You're no anti-fascist.
Can you look? There are so many people coming.
Sorry.
So the point is now, if Jeremy Corbyn is an anti-Semite, if he is, it's a big if. It's yet to be proven to me that he's an anti-Semite.
I was trying to do that logical exercise with you.
Let me finish. If he is an anti-Semite, I would be the first person to stand here and say,
you're not. I'm giving you examples.
disassociate myself from extremists who are anti-Semitic.
But I'm giving examples and you're defending them.
Now, do you do the same with
No.
Are...
I'm giving you examples and you're defending them.
No, you are putting a spin on these statements.
No. Okay, so explain to me, Adnan, before running away from this logical argument we were having, explain to me how the statement, Zionists have been in this country for a long time and they still don't get British humour. How does that make sense if you're talking against anyone other than Jews?
It is just like saying that these ISIS supporters do not get the British humour.
No.
It is just like that. To me, Zionists who believe in killing innocent Palestinians.
How long has a Scottish Zionist lived in this country?
Let me finish.
They were born in this country.
Zionists who believe in
indigenous.
To me, Zionists who believe in killing innocent Palestinian people, and ISIS who believe in killing innocent non-Muslims, right? Wait, are absolutely the same.
Adnan,
so if someone...
Stick to this, literally, explain to me, if we're talking about a Scottish person who is 300 generation Scottish, they've lived in Glasgow, their families lived in Glasgow for centuries, and they happen to support Israel and be Zionists, how does the statement, these Zionists, this guy from Scotland, have been here probably a long time and they still don't get British irony?
It's like saying, it's like these Tories or these...
Have been in this country a lot...
Wait, Joesph, it's just like making a statement that these Tories do not get the British sense of humour.
They've been here a long time. He's othering. This is classic racism.
The Tories have been here for a long time. Zionism is a political position. It is a political statement.
But that
it
statement
is a political
only makes
ideology.
sense if you're
it
talking
is not
about
a religion.
Jews.
It's not a people.
That
you
only makes sense if you're talking about Jews.
Zionism does not equal Judaism. Do you understand
Thank you for the education, Adnan.
Do you understand that?
No, I don't understand that. Thank you, Adnan, for educating me.
But that's the point.
Adnan, again.
Are you insisting that Zionism is Judaism?
Adnan, you're not following the conversation.
Yes.
What was the pivotal part of that sentence? Have been in this country for a long time.
Zionists.
Have probably been here for a while, and they still don't get English irony.
Okay, let me now break down this particular statement.
Do English Zionists get English irony?
Okay, now when Jeremy Corbyn is saying Zionists, he's talking about Zionists.
No, Adnan, no. Again, do English Zionists get English irony?
Do English ISIS supporters get English irony?
This is ridiculous. Adnan, you're a clever guy.
I am trying to be. I'm trying to be.
Get pacifism.
Do you still not get my point?
I absolutely get your point. And
when someone uses the word Zionism or Zionist, that doesn't mean Judaism or Jews.
Thank you, Adnan. Thank you.
Okay.
And again, so again,
yeah.
Does an English Zionist?
Yeah.
Why would anyone say an English Zionist, someone who is ethnically and indigenously English, how does it make sense to say that they don't get English? Okay. They've been here a while and they don't get English.
If Jeremy Corbyn had said the Jews do not get the English sense of humour, that would be anti-Semitic. That would be a statement of hate. Okay,
Adnan, let's move on. The people who are watching can judge for themselves.
That would be mockery.
Adnan,
mockery.
Let's move on. The people can judge. We both put our arguments on the table, and the viewers can decide who they're aligned with.
You are insisting Zionism equals Judaism.
No, I'm not. Stop putting words in my mouth. Okay. At the very beginning, I explicitly stated, and you know that, I stated Zionism is the support for the state of Israel. And if you support the Palestinians and you support Israel, you're a Zionist. If you're Christian, atheist, I said that at the very beginning. So, Mark, we can have another conversation afterwards.
Yes.
And I actually haven't got much time for you.
No. Please, let's continue. I'm going to conclude this conversation. So, now that we are in agreement that we are against extremism.
Yeah.
We are against
100%.
We are against all forms of hate, whether
100%.
it's anti-Semitic or Islamophobic. And I want from you as a Jewish individual to stand with the Muslims
Which I have
against Islamophobia.
Which I have done for the last 20 years.
Okay, show that on Twitter.
I have. I've
show
shown
that
it.
on
If you actually followed me.
Don't be agreeing
Adnan,
and retweeting
Adnan.
and liking the tweets
Of
of
Steve.
Islamophobes.
Of Steve. Let's just call
Yes,
it Steve.
yes.
You're saying I shouldn't be friends with Steve, and I will look
I'm
into
not
Steve's
saying-
views.
you can be
and
friends-
I will look into his views.
Okay.
But 100%, I've been bottled by the EDL as we established. I've spent 15 years opposing the BNP, the EDL, all
Right.
forms of far-right
Just
extremism.
just like there are people here who would like Muslims to do more in condemning extremism and confronting the
But how many
extremism.
Muslims here have been bottled standing against Nazis?
Okay.
Yeah, but you're not a Muslim, mate. And the whole conversation is he's saying that Jews should do more.
Do you know?
So, as I said, I was bottled once standing in solidarity outside Downing Street, and I was bottled once when they mistook.
Okay, so we're going to conclude now. We had a very respectful, calm discussion. Although we disagreed immensely with each other. I disagree with Zionism. I disagree with what Zionists are doing in Palestine and around the world.
What are they doing around the world?
Netanyahu standing next to Modi. Yes,
Theresa
yes,
May.
I
Theresa
disagree
May.
with that. I disagree
Theresa
with
May.
that.
The British government stands next to Modi.
She's wrong.
But you don't single them out. You single out the Jews.
She's a no.
You single out Netanyahu. You don't single out any
No,
other
no.
world leader.
Theresa May has never expressed.
You condemn
her love.
Theresa May?
No. Theresa May has never expressed her admiration.
Yes,
Are
okay.
you listening to me?
Yeah, sorry.
She has never expressed her admiration for Modi. Netanyahu has. Okay, Netanyahu has. America banned. Listen, America banned. Would you, if al-Baghdadi, for example, became the ruler of the Middle East? He's dead now. Good riddance, right? If he became the ruler of the Middle East and he became an economic power with all his ideological rubbish and all that, right? Would you embrace him as a brother in global economy?
No, but I also don't think.
Why wouldn't you do that?
But I also
Why wouldn't
think,
you do that? I want to know now. I want to get to the bottom of
Because
it.
the man crucifies civilians.
Okay, good.
He burns them alive.
Okay.
He beheads them.
Okay.
They take sex
Wait.
slaves. He
Okay.
takes sex slaves. Very
Okay.
good, Ali.
Okay.
He takes sex slaves.
Okay.
He takes. So there is an awful lot to convey.
Okay, now
And
let's talk about these four things. What was the first thing you mentioned?
crucifying.
Okay, Modi, when he was the governor of Gujarat, when he was actually indicted by the Indian courts in this matter of genocide against the Muslims of Gujarat, there were women, girls as young as 11, 12, 13, raped. Their breasts were cut off.
And Modi did this?
No. His supporters, and these people, they walked free from courts. They walked out. Most of them, they walked out, having raped. Okay, when Modi was governor,
I'm not the person to have this conversation because I don't know. I don't know the conflict.
Please. Let me finish now. We're getting somewhere.
Okay.
We're getting somewhere, right? Just like you condemn Baghdadi for the right reasons, I want you and your prime minister. Okay.
It's not my prime minister. I'm British.
You're a
What are you
Zionist.
So's Theresa May. So's David Cameron. So's
They're not Zionists.
They support Israel. They are by definition Zionists.
Okay, they're not Zionists. They never said we are Zionists.
Yes, they have on record.
Okay. Well, good luck to them then. Good luck to them. Good luck to them. It's like okay. So the point is now.
It's not my prime minister. I'm
Okay.
a British Jew. My prime minister is Boris Johnson, Bojo, not Netanyahu.
Okay.
Ojo, he calls letterboxes the Muslim.
But what he said there, what did he say in that
As far as I
article?
know, he said that Muslim.
No, but what he also said, what he said was offensive. But what he was actually expressing was he would defend their right to wear what they want, which I actually think is a
He
noble.
also insinuated in his book that Jews are ruling the world.
I know you said that at the beginning, so I got to go
Are
away
you
and read
aware of
the
that
book.
article?
And I said when you
Can I pull it out?
No. And I said I'm going to go away and read it. I've already said that. I've
If
already
that's the
said
case,
that.
then is he your prime minister?
Can you advise his closing statement? Can you close the statement?
Okay, closing statement is Jews, Muslims, patriots, everybody should stand in solidarity against all forms of extremism. The UK is an incredibly tolerant and liberal nation.
Absolutely.
And when racists surface, we rise up against them.
Yes.
We smashed Mosley in the black shirts. We smashed Nick Griffin in the BNP. We pushed these extremist movements to the fringes. And Alhamdulillah, thank God, Baruch Hashem, we pushed Jeremy Corbyn out. And hopefully a more moderate Labour movement will emerge and we can all get back to voting Labour. I come from a strong left-wing family, historically. For me, Jews and Muslims have a rich history of coexistence and peace. There's been bad times and good times, but I prefer to focus on the good. I've got many, many Muslim friends. Many of them come to this park. The overwhelming majority of Muslims are ordinary, good, decent people, and we should all stand in opposition to the extremists, whether they come from the extreme Islamic community, the Jewish community, or the British community, like the English indigenous community. We should stand in opposition to them. And so
I agree with Joesph.
So for me, I think this park polarizes people. This park brings out the worst in people. It pits people who should be allies against each other. Because you're a Muslim, I'm a Jew. You're pro-Palestinian, I'm Zionist. You're Labour, I'm not Tory, but if I was Tory, I'm Tory. And so this park is the worst representation of humanity, and it's got much worse since the cameras came here. I used to come here 7, 8 years ago, and it was all the Muslims loved me, literally, and I loved all the Muslims. The cameras turn up, and suddenly we're at each other's throats because it's all about ego. I have no ill feelings to you, Adnan. I've actually seen you speaking out. Community.
Then you need to come out. Then you need to come out and make that clear.
Literally, there's like 8 cameras here.
Now you're doing it. Thank you. Are you finished?
Yes, because Labour are a fascist party that you support. We can get onto that over there in a different debate.
Okay. Are you finished with the statement?
Yeah. I'm just getting distractions.
I agree with most of what Joesph said, apart from Jeremy Corbyn and his alleged anti-Semitism. I believe Boris Johnson is more of a fascist. If Jeremy Corbyn is a fascist, if he is, it's a big if, then Boris Johnson is more of a fascist because he has made worse statements against minorities and vulnerable people, including the Jewish people, which Joesph, for some reason, does not want to acknowledge.
It's not aware of. Nobody wants to acknowledge.
It's not about personalities. It's about living together as humans in peace. We want peace in this world. Myself and Joesph, I'm pretty sure he doesn't want innocent people to die. I don't want innocent people to die. There's a lot of hate in the world. There's a lot of misconception. Okay, we need to come together as humans, as brothers and sisters in humanity, to do away with this hate and deliberate misconceptions spread by some agenda-driven Islamophobes or anti-Semites. We both agree that anti-Semitism is an evil. So is Islamophobia. Islamophobia is a global phenomenon now, and for some reason we see the Israeli Prime Minister on the front line pumping Islamophobia or supporting Islamophobia wherever he sees it. You will see him there. You will see him. It's not even hidden anymore, right? So people like Joesph, when you see that, for example, I am originally from Pakistan. If I see Imran Khan making an anti-Semitic statement, I would come and say, this is wrong. This is you are actually putting an entire race of people in danger. You're spreading hate against them. Likewise, if a Western leader is making irresponsible statements against the Muslims of the world, then they are equally responsible in this. So there is global Islamophobia. There is global Islamophobia. Islamophobia is a global phenomenon, and anti-Semitism has done what it had to do in the past, like the genocide of the Jewish people during the Middle Ages in Europe, in Europe, and then what happened in the 40s in Nazi Germany. We condemn them wholeheartedly. We condemn those actions. Now, likewise, we want the Jewish people who suffer daily to stand with us.
They do.
Yeah.
There was recently about 35 Holocaust
and
victims.
they do, absolutely, they do, and we really appreciate that.
Yeah, they came together and they said we actually condemn. They were saying basically Zionism and anti-Semitism are two separate things. So they were there to condemn Zionism. I'm sure you know about 30 or 35 of Holocaust victims came together and they actually condemned.
Are you talking about the letter?
Yeah, the letter they wrote.
Yeah, the
together,
letter was proven to be actually fraudulent, but we can go into that.
As far as I know, that's
but this is everything that's wrong with the park. This is everything that's wrong with the park. Instead, we're basically trying to do a positive message.
Yeah. I think we should end with a positive note. We, myself and Joesph have agreed on most things. We have disagreed on Zionism, its definition, and what it's doing in the Middle East and all that, and what the Israelis are doing, or other things. But we agree on condemning.
I just want to make one final point.
Yes. Okay.
So very, very quickly, then I'll give you the mic, because I think it's very important. In this conversation, you will not have seen me attack Islam once. Adnan is closing his comments to attack Zionism. There's literally, instead of building bridges and making peace, you're using your final words to attack my community. 90% of the world's Jews support Israel. No. 90% of the world's Jews support Israel. So you're by proxy attacking the overwhelming majority of Jews. So if you are genuinely a peace and a bridge builder, use this platform to bring us together rather than, because I'm not here saying Muslims. I'm actually saying most Muslims are good people. Most Jews are Zionists. The overwhelming majority of Jews are Zionists. It's actually the only thing that Jews agree on. Most Jews aren't religious. Most Jews are like Orthodox. Most Jews are Zionists. And so use this platform to build bridges rather than...
If most Muslims today started to support ISIS,
I was about to say that,
okay,
yes.
if most Muslims today...
Then don't pretend you're a friend of the Jews.
Wait.
Would it be wrong if you condemn them that you're against Muslims?
If most Muslims ended up supporting an ideology like ISIS, and we were the minority, for example, only 10% of the Muslims, I would still stand here and condemn ISIS. Why? Because of our principles, because of what ISIS have done. Wait, let me finish.
Then don't pretend you're our friend.
Please, let me finish. Because of what ISIS have done. What we look at Zionism today, what Zionism is doing today in Palestine is
then you're not a friend of the Jewish people, but at least be genuine.
No, that's your deduction.
No, the overwhelming majority of Jews in the world support Israel.
Why if they're wrong?
So if they're wrong, if they're wrong, it's fine, but don't pretend you're their friend. If you're calling them baby killers and you're calling them all these things, don't pretend you're our friend. Don't pretend you're our friend.
Okay. Ali, wait. Let me clarify. We are friends of the Jewish people. Let me finish.
The tiny amount of Jews that agree with you.
Let me finish. We are a friend of the Jewish people. Our history, over 1,000 years of Muslim civilization, we took the Jewish people into our arms. We protected them against all sorts of extremism, Crusader aggression of the church, aggression from Christian Europe. The Jews took refuge with the Muslims in North Africa, in Ottoman lands, even as far as Mughal India. There were Jews there. We took the Jewish people into our arms. Our history testifies to the fact that we are a friend to the Jewish people.
Unless they are free and living in their own land.
Having said that, we are not a friend to Zionists. Wait.
You're not a friend to the Jews today. You're not a friend to Jews. You're not a friend of free Jews. You're a friend of Jews as long as they're under you. As long as a Jew is under you, you're fine.
Joesph, you have to let me finish. Be decent, please. Now that we're ending the conversation. Joesph...
Salam corner, guys.
Joesph himself said that there are Christian Zionists, there are Muslim Zionists, and there are Jewish Zionists. So our problem is with Zionism. It's not with the Jewish people, because Zionism is a political ideology which is adopted by some Christians, by some Muslims, and by some Jewish people.
The Jew is fine.
Zionism doesn't mean
the Jew is fine as long as he's a dhimmi.
Last words.
The Jew is fine as long as he's under Islam or under Christendom.
Okay. Now, in order to see the details on this question, watch my discussion with Joesph on Muhammad Hijab's channel, where myself and Joesph have talked about this issue of jizya and all that. Thank you very much for listening.
It's fine, but Ali's the moderator, calming everything down.
Thank you. Nice talking to you again.
As always.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Hope this video was helpful for you. This may help others too, so please consider sharing, and we will bring more videos in the future, inshallah. So consider subscribing and you won't miss any. Jazakallahu khairan.